Hello students, how are you all? I hope you all are doing great. I am Neha Rajvanshi and I welcome you all in today's class, that is English class of class 8th. So students, in today's video we will start reading with our next poem from the book Honeydew. This is poem number 2 and the name of the poem is Geography Lesson, and this poem is written by Mr. Zulfikar Ghosh. So he is the poet of this poem. So students, the title of the poem is Geography Lesson, and I am very much sure that you all are aware with this thing that geography is a subject, right? Then why this poem is having this title, that is Geography Lesson? The reason is that in the poem we will see a lot of geographical facts. Okay, so the poet, first of all, he will present some geographical facts in front of us, and after presenting those facts, finally the poet, he will raise one question, and in that question there is the message that the poet actually wants to convey through this poem. Okay, and that particular question, that will make us think very hard. Okay, and then only we will get the message that this poem is having. So this is a very interesting, very important poem, and this poem is having a very great, very important message for all of us, for all the human beings, right? So let's start reading our poem. First of all, before you read, so before starting the poem, let's get some idea about the poem. Can you imagine what your city would look like if you saw it from 10,000 feet above the ground? So this is the question that we are having in front of us. So the question is that, can you imagine what your city would look like if you saw it from 10,000 feet above the ground? It means when you are on the ground, when you are in your city, right? So, and the second thing is, when you look towards your city from almost 10,000 feet above the ground, so will you observe any difference? Will you able to see any difference? Neatly planned and perfect in proportion like a geometric design, it would strike you as something very different from what it actually is while you are in the thick of it. Now we are having the answer of this question, that when we are on that height, that is almost 10,000 feet, and from there we are looking towards our city, so will there be any difference? So the answer is that yes, there will be a great deal of difference, and from that height we will find this thing, that our city is neatly planned and our city is perfect in proportion, just like a geometric design. It means when we are on the ground, when we are in our city, then maybe we can think that our city, it is not at all perfectly developed, it is not at all systematically planned, right? But when we are on that high, when we are over our city, and from that height we are looking towards our city, then we will find this thing that no, it is not like that. Our city is neatly planned, it is systematically planned, and it is perfect in proportion. Okay, so this is the difference that we can see, and it would strike you as something very different from what it actually is while you are in the thick of it. So in the thick of it means when you are in the city, when you are on the ground, and second, when you are above the ground almost 10,000 feet. So in both the condition you will see that there is a great deal of difference, और आपको जो अपनी city है वो बहुत अलग दिखेगी. Okay, so when you are on the ground, then you will find, you may realize this thing, that your city, it is not at all planned, it is not at all systematically developed, but from a certain height you can realize this thing, that no, your city is neatly planned and very perfect systematically development is there in your city. Clear? Here is a poet's description of just such a view of the city and some questions that come to his mind. So in the poem that we will read here, so in this poem we will find the poet's description of just such a view of the city. Such a view means the view that we have discussed already, that when we are almost 10,000 feet above the ground, and from that height what is the view of the city, that view we will read in this poem, and we will also read some of the questions that are there in the mind of the poet. Clear? So in this poem basically we will read some of the geographical facts, or we can say some of the view of the city that can be seen from a particular height, and some of the questions that are there in the mind of the poet. Clear? So these are the basic information, and after reading all these details, now let's start reading our poem. So students, this poem is having 3 stanzas, and now I am very much sure that you all know what stanzas means. Paragraphs, you can say that paragraph that are there in prose, same paragraph are known as stanzas in the poem. So in this poem we are having 3 stanzas, and each and every stanzas there are 8 lines. Clear? So we are having 3 stanzas of 8 lines each, right? So this is the first stanza, this is the opening stanza of the poem, and these are the first 4 lines of the first stanza. Clear? So now first of all let's read the lines. When the jet sprang into the sky, it was clear why the city had developed the way it had, seeing it scaled 6 inches to the mile. So these are the first 4 lines, these are the opening lines of the poem. So in these lines the poet is saying that when the jet sprang into the sky. So what jet means? Jet means aircraft, or we can say aeroplane. Okay, so the poet, he is sitting in one of the jet, in one of the aeroplane, right? And the aeroplane, it is now in the air, it is now in the sky. So what sprang means? Sprang means to jump, right? So here in this line the poet is saying that he is sitting in one of the jet, he is sitting inside one of the aeroplane, and when that jet, it jumped into the sky, it means when it is higher in the sky, at that time it was very clear for the poet. At that time the poet, he was able to understand this thing, that why the city had developed the way it had. It means the poet is saying in these lines that when the poet, he was in his city, when he was on the ground, at that time it was a mystery for him that why his city had developed the way it had. But now when he is flying in one of the jet, when he is there you know, up in the sky, when he is flying higher in the sky, and now when he is looking down towards his city, so now this thing is clear to him. Now he is able to understand this thing, that why his city had developed the way it had. Clear? Seeing it scaled 6 inches to the mile. So now the poet, who is there inside the jet, and the jet, it is flying higher in the sky. So now the poet is seeing it means towards the city. So now the poet is seeing towards the city, scaled 6 inches to mile. So what scaled means? Scale means to climb. It means जो jet है, जो aeroplane है, right? It is flying higher and higher, और वो जो ground से कितना दूर होता जा रहा है, from 6 inches to the mile. Okay, because it is going higher and higher in the sky, in the air. So this is the reason that the difference of this jet from the ground is increasing gradually, and it is increasing from 6 inches to the mile. So now when the poet, he is higher in the sky, he is you know, on that particular height from the ground. So now there are so many things that are clear to him, that the poet is now able to understand. So the first thing that is clear to the poet is that why the city has developed the way it had. Clear? Let's read further the next 4 lines of the first stanza. There seemed an inevitability about what on ground had looked haphazard and planned and without style when the jet sprang into the sky. And now the poet, he is saying that, you know, there seemed an inevitability about what on ground had looked haphazard. So first of all, let's see the meanings. Inevitability means something that cannot be avoided. Clear? And haphazard means without any planning, without any systematic planning. So here the poet is trying to say that when the poet, he was on the ground, at that time for the poet, it was something that he cannot something that cannot be avoided, that his city, it is perfectly haphazard, it is without any planning, it is without any style. But now when the poet, he is sitting on the jet, he is sitting and he is flying higher in the sky, and now when he is looking towards his city, then he is having no doubt, then he is having, you know, no mystery, and now each and everything is clear to him, and now he is able to understand this thing, that no, his city is perfectly planned, his city is, you know, it is a developed city, and that too in a very systematically developed city. Clear? So this is the first stanza. So one more time let's see the explanation of very first stanza. So in this stanza the poet is saying that the poet, he is there inside one of the jet, and the jet, it is flying higher in the sky. So when the jet is there in the sky, when it is in the air and it is flying higher and higher, and the poet, he is looking towards his city. So at that time there are so many things that are clear to the poet. There are so many things that the poet, he is able to understand. So the first thing that is clear in his mind now is that he is able to understand this thing, that why his city has developed the way it had, because now he is gradually rising from 6 inches to the mile. So when he was in his city, when he was on the ground, then maybe in his mind this question was that his city is so unplanned, his city is having no style, his city is having no planning, so why his city is looking like this. But now when he is there on that particular height, and now from that height when he is looking towards his city, so finally this mystery is clear to him. Finally he is able to understand this thing, that no, it is not at all like this. In fact his city is perfectly planned, it is neatly planned. Okay, and this thing is clear to him when the jet is sprang into the sky, when the poet is there inside the jet and his jet is flying higher and higher in the air, or we can say in the sky, then only the poet, he is able to understand this thing. Clear? So students, in this picture you can see this thing. So suppose this is the city of the poet. Okay, so just suppose this thing, that when he was on the ground, so from this when he was there, so from there obviously he will not be able to understand the planning of the city. But now when he is there higher in the air, when he is sitting in the jet and he is looking this view of his city, so obviously now he can see that no, his city is so perfectly planned. Okay, here we can see that these are the roads, here some greeneries are there, and here the lines of the houses that are so systematically, so perfectly planned. Okay, so now the poet, he is looking this view of his city. Okay, so now only the poet, he is able to understand this thing, that when he was on the ground, at that time this thing was in his mind, that his city, it is not at all planned, it is having no style, it is having no system. But now when he is able to see this view of his city, then finally he is able to understand this thing, that no, his city is neatly planned, his city is having style, his city is having a very perfect system. Clear? And why? So in this picture we all can see, and this scene we can see only from the height. Okay, and obviously when we are on the ground, then definitely हम भी नहीं समझ पाएंगे that what is the plan of the city. Okay, but जब वो finally the poet, he is sitting in that jet and he is looking towards his city from that height, he is able to see this aerial view of his city, then only this thing is clear to him, then only this mystery, or we can say this doubt, is cleared from his mind. Okay, so this is the first stanza. Very easy, very simple lines are there in this stanza. So now let's discuss some of the literary devices, as we have discussed in our previous poem also, and at that time also I have told you this thing, that in all the poems, all the poets, they used so many devices. Why? Just to increase the artistic beauty of the poem, and just to add more and more rhythm and style to their poem. Okay, so now let's see, now let's discuss the literary devices that are there in our first stanza. So first of all, let's discuss the rhyme scheme. And I hope you all know how to mark, how to identify the rhyme scheme that we have discussed in our previous poem also. You just have to look at the sound of the last word of each and every line, right? We just have to look towards the sound, right? So let's see the first word. The first word is sky. It is a new sound. It is our first sound. So we will mark it as A. Okay, second word is city. So sky and city, is there any similarity? Sky, city, no. Again city, it is a new sound, so we will mark city as B. Next we are having head. So let's see head and sky. Sky, head, no. Second sound is city. City, head, no. Again head, it is a new sound. So now we will mark head as C. Now the next sound is mile. So let's see sky and mile. Sky, mile, no. City, mile, no. Head, mile, no. Again it is a new sound. So we will mark mile as D. So the rhyme scheme of first 4 lines is A, B, C, D. So let's write here A, B, C, D. These are the first 4 lines, right? Now let's continue. Now we are having inevitability. So let's check. Inevitability is matching with city. Okay, city and inevitability. Yes, clear? So city was B. So inevitability, it will be B also, right? Next we are having haphazard. So now let's see haphazard and head. Okay, haphazard, head. Okay, so again it will be C. Now we are having style. So style, it is just like mile. Mile, style. Mile, style. So mile was D. So style, it will be D. Next we are having sky. So sky we already had in as A. So this sky was A. So again it will be A. So next 4 lines we are having the rhyme scheme as B, C, D, A. So just write here B, C, D, A. So we can say that the rhyme scheme of first stanza is A, B, C, D, B, C, D, A. Clear? So it is very easy to understand the rhyme scheme. It is very easy to mark or identify the rhyme scheme. Just focus at the sound of the word that is there at the end of the sentence, at the end of the line, and just compare that sound to the next sound. If you are having new sound, so just mark a new alphabet to that sound. Okay, and all the similar sounds that will have same alphabets. Okay, so this is the rhyme scheme of our very first stanza, that is A, B, C, D, B, C, D, A. Clear? Now moving on to another literary device that we can see here. Okay, so in these lines we are having alliteration. So what alliteration means? Alliteration we have discussed also earlier. Alliteration means it is a repetition of the same consonant sound. Okay, so if we are having repetition of the same consonant sound in the beginning of the words, then we are having examples of alliteration. So in these lines, let's mark the example of alliteration. First of all, sprang, sky. Okay, sprang and sky, both the words they are having similar sound in the beginning of the words, sprang and sky. Yes, so this is the example of alliteration. And another example of alliteration we can see here, seeing, scaled, 6. Okay, seeing, scaled and 6. Yes, in the beginning of these words we are having similar sound, and this is the repetition of the same consonant sound. Okay, so these are the example of alliteration. First in sprang, sky, and second in seeing, scaled and 6. Okay, so these are the example of alliteration. Clear? One more literary device that we are having in these lines is enjambment. We have discussed this device also, enjambment, earlier. So what enjambment means? When the same sentence continues in the next line also without any pause, without any punctuation mark, then that device is known as enjambment. So here we can see after city, it is having no pause, it is having no punctuation mark. Okay, and the same sentence continues to the next line also, and here we are having one comma. Okay, so this is the example of enjambment, right? So let's see one more time what enjambment means. Enjambment means when the same sentence continues to the next line without any pause, without any punctuation mark, then that device is known as enjambment, and here we can see the example of enjambment. Clear? One more literary device we are having in this stanza, that is refrain. So what refrain means? Refrain is a kind of repetition, okay? It can be a repetition of phrase, it can be a repetition of a line or sentence, and generally it comes at the end of the stanza. So here we can see, just look at the last line of the stanza. It is when the jet sprang into the sky, and this line is repeated here because this is the very first line of this stanza, when the jet sprang into the sky. So the first line of the stanza, it is repeated at the end of the stanza. So this is the example of refrain, okay? So what refrain means? Refrain is a repetition of phrase of, or we can say it is a repetition of sentence that generally comes at the end of the stanza. So this is the example of refrain. Clear? Now next moving on. So now this is the second stanza, and these are the first 4 lines of the second stanza. So now first of all, let's read the lines. When the jet reached 10,000 feet, it was clear why the country had cities where the rivers ran and why the valleys were populated. So now the poet, he is saying that finally the jet in which the poet he is sitting. So now the jet, it reached 10,000 feet, okay? So the jet, the aircraft, the aeroplane, it is flying higher and higher, and now finally it reached at 10,000 feet, okay? So now it is 10,000 feet higher than the ground. It was clear. So now again the poet, he is able to understand some of the fact, he is able to clear some of his doubts. So now he is able to understand this thing, that why the country had cities where the rivers ran, okay? So this is a very important thing that you all must have read in your geography lessons, in your geography chapters, that all the countries, they are having their cities where all the rivers are. It means जो भी river sites होती हैं, जहाँ भी rivers होती है, वहीं आसपास cities develop हो जाती हैं. Why? Because we all know that water, it is one of the most important thing for human beings survival, okay? So जहाँ कहीं भी rivers होती हैं, river होंगी तो obviously water होगा, rivers होंगी, so वहाँ की जो land होगी वो क्या होगी? It will be more fertile, okay? And it will be good for all kind of agriculture. So this is the reason that in all the countries, the major cities are developed near the banks of river. The major cities are there where the rivers are, where the water bodies are. So now the poet, he is there almost 10,000 feet above the ground, and now he is looking towards the cities, he is looking towards the different countries, and now he is able to understand this thing, that wherever there are water bodies, wherever there are rivers, so the areas that are near the river, they are much developed, they are very much developed, okay? And there are only big cities, developed cities are, and why, that we all know, we have read all these things in geography chapters, that water, it is very much important for the development, for the survival of human beings, and near the water body, land is also fertile, so agriculture is also there, good agriculture is there. So this is the reason that near the rivers, near the water bodies, the major cities, the developed cities are there. So now the poet, he is able to understand this thing also. Clear? And why the valleys were populated, and one more thing is clear now for the poet. One more thing is there, that the poet is now able to understand that why the valleys, they were populated. So we all know valleys. So now the poet, he is able to understand this thing, that why the valleys, they are populated, they are crowded, okay? So why the valleys are crowded? We all know, because valleys, they are having more facility for more development for human beings comparatively to hilly areas, comparatively to mountain areas, okay? Because the mountains, there are so many struggles, so many challenges when we are there on the mountains, but if we are there on plain lands, if we are on valleys, then definitely we are having so many facilities, we are having so many advantages. So this is the reason that the valleys, they are more populated, they are more crowded comparatively to hilly areas, comparatively to mountain range, okay? So now the poet, he is able to understand this thing also, because he is almost 10,000 feet above the ground, and from that height he is looking towards the city. So now he is able to see दिस थिंग दैट यू नो जहाँ पे वैलीज हैं, जहाँ पे प्लेन लैंड है, दैट पार्ट इज मोर क्राउडेड, वहाँ पे ज़्यादा हाउसेज हैं, वहाँ पे ज़्यादा डेवलपमेंट हुआ है कंपेरेटिवली टू माउंटेन एरियाज, कंपेरेटिवली टू हिली एरियाज. एंड द सेकेंड थिंग दैट इज क्लियर टू हिम is that where the rivers are, where the water bodies are, so that is the part where developed cities are, where there is more development. Okay, so these are the two things that are clear to the point, that the point he is able to understand when he is at 10,000 feet above the ground. Clear? Next we are having next 4 lines of our second stanza. So first let's read the lines. The logic of geography that land and water attracted man was clearly delineated when the jet reached 10,000 feet. So now in these lines the poet is saying that this is the logic of geography, because this is the thing that we all read in our geography chapters, in our geography lessons. So we can say that yes, these are the facts of geography, these are the logics of geography. And what logics the poet is talking about here? The logics is that the land and water, these are the two main important thing that actually attract man, right? And we all can be agreed to this thing, because yes, this is a fact that if land is good, if land is fertile, if land is plain, and if water is there in enough quantity, then these are two important thing that actually attract human beings, then actually attract all the man. Okay, so ये बहुत ही common सी बात है that we all have read in our geography lessons, but now finally the poet he is able to understand these logics of geography, and now these logics they were clearly delineated, now these logics were clearly shown to the poet when finally the jet it reached 10,000 feet. And now when the poet he is there and now he is looking towards the city from that height, then only he is able to understand these logics of geography, these facts of geography, that land and water they are two important things that actually attract human beings. Okay, और जो भी you know human civilization है वो वहीं पे grow होती है, वहीं पे develop होती है, where there is water in enough quantity and where there is land, where there is fertile and good quality land. Okay, so these are common things, और वहीं पे human civilization develop होती है, वहीं पे big cities develop होते हैं, और वहीं पे you know development होता है, growth होती है. Okay, so now poet finally he is able to understand these things. Okay, so now let's read one more time the second stanza of the poem. So in this stanza the poet is saying first of all that finally his jet it reached 10,000 feet, and now he is there almost 10,000 feet above the ground, and from that height the poet is looking towards the cities, he is looking towards the countries, and now there are some things that the poet is able to understand. So first thing is that the poet is able to understand that why the country had cities where the rivers ran, it means where the water bodies are, where the rivers are, there is human civilization, there is more development. Why? That is clear to the poet now. And the second thing that the poet is able to understand that why the valleys they are more populated comparatively to hilly areas, comparatively to mountain range. Okay, so finally the poet he is able to understand the logic of geography, that land and river, or we can say land and water, they are two important things that actually attract human beings, that actually attract all the people. Okay, and now finally this thing is clear to the poet when the jet it reached 10,000 feet above the ground. Okay, so this is the second stanza. Again very simple lines, very easy lines. So now let's discuss some of the literary devices. First of all let's mark the rhyme scheme. So let's see, first word is feet, it will be A because it is our very new sound, very first sound. Second word is country, feet, country, any similarities there? No. Country is a new sound, we will mark it as a B. Next we are having ran, let's compare feet, ran, no. Country, ran, no, again new sound, so we will mark it as a C. Next we are having populated, so let's see, feet populated, no. Country populated, no. Ran populated, no, again new sound, so we will mark it as a D. Next we are having geography, so now let's compare country geography, country geography, yes. similarity is there, so it will be B, just like a country. Next we are having a man. So now let's see man and ran. Okay, ran was C, man and ran. So man, it will be C, just like ran. Okay. Next we are having delineated. So now let's see delineated and populated. Delineated, populated. Yes, similarity is there. So it will be D, just like populated. Next we are having feet. So feet we have read earlier also, it was A, feet. So this feet again it was A. Okay, so let's see the rhyme scheme of second stanza. It is A, B, C, D, B, C, D, A. Okay, so we can write here. It is A, B, C, D, B, C and D, A. Okay, so this is the rhyme scheme of a second stanza. Clear? Again, one more literary device that we can see here is enjambment. Enjambment we have discussed earlier. When the same sentence it continues to the next line without any pause, without any punctuation mark, then it is known as enjambment. So here also we can see example of enjambment where after country there is no punctuation mark, after ran there is no punctuation mark, there is we can see one full stop at the end of populated. So when country and ran they are having no pause, no punctuation mark. So this is the example of enjambment when the same sentence it continues to the next line also. So again we are having example of enjambment here. Clear? One more literary device that we can see here is alliteration. So what alliteration means? Alliteration is a repetition of the same consonant sound in the beginning of word. So let's see example of alliteration. Rivers ran. Okay, rivers ran. This is the example of alliteration because we can see that you know same sound is there at the beginning of rivers and ran. Okay, so rivers ran. This is example of alliteration. And one more example of alliteration we can see here. Why valleys were. Okay, why valleys were. Okay, so this is the same sound in the beginning of all these words. Why valleys were. So again this is the example of alliteration. Okay, so alliteration means repetition of the same consonant sound. And again we are having repetition of the line, and this repetition is known as a refrain, because the last line of the stanza, that is when the jet reached 10,000 feet, it is the same that was the first line of the stanza when the jet reached 10,000 feet. So the first line of the stanza that is repeated at the end of the stanza also. So this is the example of refrain. So refrain, it is a repetition of any phrase, or we can say it is a repetition of any sentence, and generally that is there at the end of the stanza. So this is the example of refrain. Clear? Now next moving on to our third stanza, that is the last stanza of the poem. So first of all, these are the first 4 lines of the third stanza. So let's read the lines first. When the jet rose 6 miles high, it was clear the earth was round and that it had more sea than land, but it was difficult to understand. So now the poet is saying that finally the jet in which the poet is there, so that jet rose 6 miles high. So that jet, that aircraft, it is rising higher and higher, it is flying higher and higher up in the sky. So now it is there almost 6 miles high than the ground. So now from that height again the poet is looking towards the city, he is looking towards the ground. So there are so many things that are clear to the poet, there are so many things that the poet he is finally able to understand. So now he is talking about those things, and he is saying that now it is very clear to him that the earth, it was round. So again this is a geographic logic, this is a geographical fact that we all have read so many times that our earth, planet earth, it is round, okay, it is in a circular shape, it is round. So this is the thing that we all know. So now the poet, he is able to see this thing, he is able to understand this thing, he is able to realize this thing that earth, planet earth, yes, it is round, and that it had more sea than land. And one more thing that is clear to poet, from that height, that is almost 6 miles. So now the poet is able to understand this thing that our planet earth, it is having more sea, or we can say it is having more water comparatively to land. It means we all know that on our planet earth we are having almost 70% of water and only 30% of land, okay. So here you all can see, you all know about continents, you all know about oceans, and you all know about this fact that all the continents, they make almost 30% of our part of all earth, and the water body, they are almost 70% of the part of our earth, okay. So we all know this thing, and these are again geography, logic, geographical facts. But the now poet, who is almost 6 miles higher than the ground, and from that height he is able to understand these things, that our earth, it is round in shape, and our earth is having more sea, or we can say more water than land, okay. But it was difficult to understand. So the poet, he is able to understand so many things. We have discussed so many facts, so many logics, so many things in our previous stanzas also. So now here the poet is saying that when he was there in jet, when he was flying higher and higher, and from that height, when he was looking towards the ground, when he was looking towards the city, so there were so many things that were clear to him, there were so many things that he was able to understand, but still there was something that he was unable to understand. So he is saying that, but it was still very difficult for him to understand. So what is that thing? That is still a mystery for the poet. So let's read further. That the man on the earth found causes to hate each other, to build walls across cities, and to kill. From that height it was not clear why. So now the poet is saying that from that particular height there were so many geography logics that are clear to him finally, but still there is some mystery, that is still a mystery for the poet, that the poet is still unable to understand. So now he is presenting that mystery. He is saying that this thing is still a mystery for him, that why the man, why the people who are there on the earth, or we can say why we all human being, we found causes. Causes means reasons. So why we are having so many reasons just to hate each other, okay. So we all human beings, we hate each other, we hate the people who are from different religion, who are having different skin color, who are having different language, who are from different countries. So why we human being, we hate each other? Because basically we all are human being, we all are the citizen of this earth, okay, and this entire earth, this entire planet is same, it is a singular planet. So we all human being, we are same, there is no difference, but we human being, we hate each other on the basis of different religion, different language, different race, okay. So why we hate each other, why we human being, we are having this feeling of hatred for each other? This is the thing that is still a mystery for the poet, and still he is unable to understand this thing, that why we human being, we build walls across the cities, and why we kill each other, why we kill the people who are from different country, who are from different cities, and why we are having boundaries between the countries, why we are having the feeling of hatred, and why we kill each other, okay. And now again the poet is saying this thing, that from that height it was not clear why, okay. So this is the mystery for the poet when he was there on the ground, when he was there in the city, but now finally when he is there on that height, so again he is still unable to understand this thing, still this thing a mystery for him, because again he is unable to understand this thing, that why we human beings, we hate each other, we kill each other, why we build so many boundaries, so many any borders. Okay, so now the poet is trying to say this thing, and this is the line that is having the message of this poem, that the message the poet he actually wanted to convey, and very beautifully, very successfully the poet he is able to convey the message. So the message of the poem is that we human beings, we all are same. There is no difference in our human beings. Okay, then why we hate each other, why we kill each other? So the poet actually wanted to say this thing, he actually wanted to convey this thing, that we should love each other. Why? Because this entire planet earth is same. Okay, this is one. So we are all human beings, we all are same, there is no difference, there is no discrimination. So we always should respect each other, we always should love each other. We should not feel that that person is from different country, that person is having different skin color, that person is from different race, he is speaking different language. Okay, so we should hate that person, we should disrespect that person. No, this thing should not be there, but in our heart there should be harmony, in our heart there should be love and respect for all the people, for all the human beings, because we all human beings, we are the citizen of this mother planet earth. Clear? So this is the message. So now let's discuss some of the literary devices that are there in our third stanza. So first of all, let's discuss the rhyme scheme. So our first sound is high, it is a new sound. First sound we will mark it as A. Second sound is a round. So high and round, obviously there is no similarity, again this is a new sound, so we will mark it as B. Next we are having land. So let's compare high and land, no. Round and land, no. Again it's a new sound, so we will mark it as a C. Next we are having understand. So let's see land and understand. Land and understand, yes they are same, so it will be C, just like a land. Okay. Next we are having found. So let's see found and round. Okay, found, round, yes they are similar sounds, so round was B, so found again it will be B. Okay. Next we are having build. So let's see build and high, no. Build and round, no. Build and land, no. So again it's a new sound, so we will mark it as a D. Next we are having kill. So let's see kill, build, no. Kill, found, no. Kill, high, no. Kill, land, no. Again new sound, so kill will be E. Okay. Next we are having Y. So let's compare Y and high. High, Y, yes they are similar sounds, so it will be A. Okay. So the rhyme scheme of our third stanza is A, B, C, C, B, D, E, A. Clear? It is very easy to mark and identify the rhyme schemes. Now let's see one more literary device that is there in this stanza. This is enjambment. We have discussed enjambment so many times. Enjambment is the same sentence that continues to the next line also without any pause, and here we can see that after found, after build, there is no punctuation mark. So this is the example of enjambment. Clear? So students, our poem ends here. We have discussed all the literary devices and we have seen explanation of all the three stanzas. I hope the poem explanation part, all the literary devices and the message that this poem is having, everything is clear to you all. In the next video, we will see the comprehension part, we will solve the questions, and one more time we will see the summary of the poem. See you in the next video. Thank you.